Congressmember Jamie Raskin is sending a major warning to those law firms that bent the knee early in the Trump regime and entered into so-called settlement agreements. What were they settling? And settlement arrangements with the Trump regime to do so-called pro bono work. And Jamie Raskin signed and sent a letter to what was once a very prestigious firm. I mean, it was like the Harvard of big law. It was called Skadden. There's a bunch of other firms like that, but Skadden was one of the elite firms. I mean, one of the top places you could work for out of law school or anywhere. And Congressmember Raskin is letting Skadden and all these law firms know, if and when Democrats take over the House of Representatives, Jamie Raskin himself, a well-known constitutional law professor and constitutional lawyer before becoming a member of Congress, that he's going to be investigating these big firms. And while Donald Trump may have been given absolute immunity by the Supreme Court, Raskin and others, whether it's Senator Schiff, are going to be focused on these big law firms, amongst a number of other things that Raskin's going to have in his portfolio if and when he becomes the chairman of the Judiciary Committee. Now, in this very powerful letter that Jamie Raskin put out, he said, you know, Skadden, you entered into this settlement agreement to provide $100 million of pro bono work for the Trump regime. We want more information about how that number was derived at. We want to see your hours. What's the work that you did? Because it doesn't seem that you're doing, say, pro bono work on issues that are supposed to, I don't know, help the people. Instead, you seem to just be an arm of the Trump regime as they've destroyed the Department of Justice, basically being their private law firm, providing free legal work as basically part of a broader scheme to kind of capture you and to have you work for the Trump regime, or else the Trump regime is going to do things to you. And one thing that's pointed out in this letter is in a case by shareholders against Intel brought in the Delaware Chancery Court, Intel did a deal with the United States government, Donald Trump taking over the methods and means of production, that basically gave the United States a 10%, a 9.9% ownership stake in Intel. And apparently Skadden was doing legal work for Intel and also was having this arrangement with the Trump regime. And so in the Delaware Chancery documents, it raises a lot of red flags of, were you representing both sides in this transaction? Were you complicit in diluting? These are questions being asked. Diluting the shareholders' value. You know, Donald Trump wants to, brags, and he goes, look, since the United States did this Intel deal, look at the value went up. You diluted the shareholders. I mean, you took a stake where that money could otherwise have been dividend out or been, given to, existing shareholders. You diluted them by giving the stake to the government, and it's unclear what you're even doing with it, where that money's going. How are you holding 10% of Intel? And you presume that the stock went up because of you, but what long-term issues have you compromised? And would the stock have gone up anyway at the time? And now that we're seeing the market hit more of a turbulent time, is this the right way to run Intel, by having the government take over Intel? And so there are these questions. Are you an instrument to do these Trump-related deals? And I think the broader point is these firms, if they thought that they were buying Trump's silence, by the way, they really aren't, because they're under his thumb every step of the way. Once you make a deal like that with Trump, he doesn't let up. But I think Raskin and others are letting them know, oh, no. You've bought yourself a future when we're in control of accountability, and you have different accountability structures than sadly the Supreme Court has given Donald Trump, but we're focused on you. So I think that's part of it as well. I want to call in Harry Litman from the Talking Feds YouTube channel, Talking Feds Substack. And Harry, that Intel deal 10% being taken away. It's fascinating that you go into this letter and they talk about how Skadden advised Intel on the transaction, a representation that the complaint correctly notes presents a host of conflicts given Skadden's agreement. The biggest, most glaring conflict, if you got this question wrong on your professional responsibility test, you should fail that one.
And many others. Look, this is what you and I did another discussion about Jeffrey Epstein and Raskin serving notice. This is Raskin saying again, the cavalry is coming and you guys best be ready. And we've adverted different times to internal debates within the Democratic Party or Democratic members in Congress about how aggressive to be in terms of accountability, backward looking, forward looking. This is one very powerful Democrat who's going to be at the head of a committee. And we've seen over the last few years how sort of dictatorial Republican leaders can be. He's going to be at the head, and he is definitely looking for accountability. And this is actually, they have every right to do it. They're just calling in private citizens, sure, but to find out what the hell happened with the government these last few years. Remember, Trump comes out of the box like February, and this was a whole series of moves that left many of us, I would count me there, reeling like, how the hell, oh my God, he is trying to leverage his power to control universities and law firms and, all kinds of big business. And can he get away with that shit? Well, for a couple years, nobody was there to stop him, but it's not at all clear. And and we've talked about this quite a bit, within the law industries, within these individual firms, the people who kind of bent the knee and signed on have had a real fallout from it within their firms, people leaving, a kind of general disapprobation within the legal industry. They thought they kind of had to do it. And it's true. Trump was, coming down heavy. But the other firms who hung tough, I think it turns out, are going to have served themselves and their clients better. And we need to know sort of what happened, because I'll tell you one thing I do not think that happened. I don't think, as you say, once they were in the thrall to Trump, it never stopped. And I very much doubt there was some kind of deep chapter and verse of you'll do this, you'll do that. It was these vague terms, $100 million of pro bono services, but not to liberal causes or, whatever they were trying to say and execute. What the hell went on? What did it mean? What did it mean to bend the knee? There was a fundamental corruption and kind of pressure campaign against really important institutions in American life. And Jamie Raskin is saying, we're going to find out what happened. I think the odds of embarrassment for the Skaddens of the world are high. But this is part and parcel of the cleanup from Donald Trump. How did he get away with it? What did he get away with? Were there either like legal corners cut or just something that did, created a lot of ethical or other problems for these law firms? What did they agree to? We do not know that story yet, because they just came out of the box, throwing punches and forcing some institutions to genuflect. Others stood their ground. And look, it was a hard position from that pressure campaign for anybody based on Trump, but the country still doesn't know the story, and the Judiciary Committee has the right to try to unearth it. What the hell did this president do to not just the government, but really important civic institutions like law firms, like universities? And that was a big part of the whole Project 2025. And Raskin and others are saying, there's a big story to be uncovered and written here. And if we get the gavel, it's ours to uncover.
those law firms, their chairs and their top partners, they don't want to be at these hearings under oath. I mean, and I think back to, you remember those steroid hearings in the early, was that the 2000s or the late 90s with
Right.
Mark McGuire and this person and that person? You're going to have, in my opinion, the top partners at these firms, Harry, probably invoking the fifth. And these are people,
Right.
they know it's coming too. And so when you're the chair of Skadden, when you're the chair of, I can go on and list these firms, in the back of your mind, 2 years, 3 years, there's going to be a day where you're sitting there across from Jamie Raskin when you want to be in legacy mode, and you're going to be there with your kids and your grandkids watching you, and you're going to be invoking the fifth and everything you've done your entire legal career, the grades you got in college, the law school you went to, the clerkship that you had. You will be remembered by that scene, and that will be the shame you will take to your grave. Harry, anything else you want to say?
Wow. I'm scared now, and I wasn't subpoenaed. But you're totally right. And I think it's a good analogy, right? That's, Mark McGuire hit some hellacious home runs. Barry Bonds stats can't be better of anyone all time in baseball. Roger Clemens. It is now what we think. And, at the time they were in a pressure cooker. They thought they had to act fast. And they made certain, Trump was putting maximum pressure on. But the reason this could happen, Ben, is just because, even though, as you say, Trump has immunity, finding out what occurred in government, the way media companies and universities and law firms were really commandeered by this guy, that's up Jamie Raskin's alley, and he's not going to be shy about it.
Everybody, make sure you subscribe to Harry Litman's YouTube channel. It's called Talking Feds. And do me a favor, when you watch a Harry video, if you've got a copy of WTF America, put in Harry's comments, WTF, and that'll let Harry know that that I sent you. All right, go to Talking Feds, search it. Thanks, Harry.
Thank you, Ben. We're prepping for the deluge of WTFs. It's okay.
Hey, if you want the full story, how democracy got here and how we take it back, pre-order our new book, WTF America, today. Just scan the QR code or click the link in the description. Let's do this.